Hey everybody, I wanted to take a little bit of time and give you a little bit of a pre-lab for the rotten egg lab, lab 2, that you're going to be doing. So this lab is really exploring mixtures and compounds. As you read through the lab, which you can find right in the Google Classroom, you'll find that you're going to weigh out some let me cover my whole face here. You're going to weigh out some iron in one and sulfur in another. And when you do that, you're going to then take a lot of observations in this. Okay, realize because this is going to be a qualitative lab, you're not going to do numbers. You don't have to measure exactly the right quantities that are exactly the quantities that the lab asks for. You can just be about. And then you're going to make observations of these things, okay? The observations, you're going to color, smell, whatever, okay? Now, then you're going to mix the two together. You're going to combine the two into one, and then you're going to observe its properties again, okay? Probably the important thing is to know that you want a magnet, okay? And then you're going to make observations. Then you're going to take that mixture and you're going to dump it right into a test tube. Okay, you're going to heat the test tube up. Just be careful because the test tube can get very hot, and you're going to see some interesting things that happen. So you never want to point the test tube at anybody. Okay. Then once you're done with that, you're going to quench it in a whole bunch of. Once it's heated, you're going to quench it in some water. And you're going to see some interesting stuff again happening there. So you're going to want to take a lot of observations. So here in the lab, the observations go into kind of a data table here that I have, where you're going to write about the substance already given, and then you're going to make the observation. Okay? And so you would write that here. Now, this is an example of a data table. You're going to make your own data table in Google, and you're going to submit that with your lab. And then every data table should always have a caption underneath it. Okay, and that should have your own. And so you should label this table 1 and then give it a caption. A caption is like a title that you give that you would give a data table. Okay. Then you're going to answer those questions. The whole point is if we're exploring mixtures and compounds, you want to know if that thing that you mixed in part 1 was a mixture or compound. That thing that was just in here, the whole that whole combination of sulfur and iron here. Okay, you want to see if that was a mixture or compound, and then you want to see. Afterwards, after you heat it up and put it in the water, you want to see if that little glob of stuff is a mixture or a compound. And you want to support those two things, those two conclusions, with observations from the lab. You know what the difference is between mixtures and compounds, and you made a whole bunch of observations, so you should be able to determine if what you made in part 1 was a mixture or compound in part 2, and you should be able to support it pretty well. Okay, and then also included with your analysis in this case, you're going to want to make sure you talk about any sort of errors. Was there anything that happened that may have changed the outcome or the expected outcome of the lab? And then if there were errors, then you need to address them and describe how they affected the lab and how you may change them. And that's going to give you a complete lab report. Okay, so again, you're going to need an introduction. You're going to need an introduction when you write this up. And then you're also going to need a methods section, a section that describes how you did the lab. And then you're going to need an analysis section. That analysis section should have a data table like this one here. And then it should have it should address that part 1 and part 2 were supported with complete sentences, and then it should have a little bit of an error discussion. If you have any questions, feel free to address me or post in the Google Classroom or whatever you need to do. Okay, good luck.